Due to some subject matter in this episode, listener discretion is advised. This episode is for you, Robert.
Officer Barbrady, this man is using some kind of mind control.
What's wrong with him?
Oh no, apparently he thinks he's Charlton Heston.
No, you idiot. He thinks he's Elvis. Elvis, escort our guest to the planet area.
Folks, if you wouldn't mind, could you please follow me? Uh-oh.
An anthology on the bad, the short-lived, and forgotten shows and events in television history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
Now, Shotty LaRue from my son's favorite show on CBS, which was just picked up again, Frank's Place.
Episode 575, submission number 1192, Elvis and the Beauty Queen. Elvis and the Beauty Queen was a made-for-TV movie that aired as part of NBC's The Sunday Big Event on March 1st, 1981.
Now, of course, NBC starting in the fall, every Sunday big event's going to be sports. Basketball, give me the ball, and we'll dunk it.
Love story that's never been told. Elvis and the Beauty Queen. She was Miss Tennessee. He was the king. It was every girl's dream come true.
He said to get ready because he's coming into my life.
But she didn't know the price she'd have to pay.
You're killing yourself! The drugs are what's killing him. The fame just makes it easy to get them.
Miss
The
Tennessee.
story of the woman who lived with a legend. Elvis and the Beauty Queen. A world premiere starring Stephanie Zimbalist and Don Johnson.
So there have been many stories told about Elvis before his 1977 death, and there have been many told since. But I can't think of any that told the story of the man after Priscilla and before his death. David Gerber, who we've been talking about almost every week for the last month, it seems, would tell that story with the help of a script from Julia Cameron and direction by Gus Triconis.
Now, Chico, you discovered something about the director of this movie before we started taping.
Yes. His filmography was interesting, to say the least. One movie I remember was from 1981. It was Take This Job and Shove It.
Quality film, Take This Job and Shove It.
Indeed. But the movie I discovered, and this led me down a whole rabbit hole here, was 1975's Supercock. Now, it's not what you think it is. It is a movie about an American cowboy played by Ross Hagen and his prized pet rooster.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
It's about to get less sweet. They travel to the Philippines to enter the first International Cockfighting Olympics for a chance to win $100,000.
Oh, so it's like over the top with cockfighting.
Yes. Not shockingly, it was distributed by Troma Entertainment, the people that gave the world The Toxic Avenger.
But they also gave us the kids show Toxic Crusaders.
And the theme song, one of many, written by some guy named Chuck Lorre.
Because if there's anything Chuck Lorre is known for, it's writing the theme songs to kids shows and being the executive producer of a sitcom where he's not going to get along with the star of the show.
But enough about Johnny Galecki. Okay, we have to get all of this stuff out of our system because it's going to get incredibly dark incredibly quickly. In fact, I don't think it's been a while since I prefaced this with a warning about drugs and SA, but there it is.
Yes. We're just getting it out there.
So if you want to skip this episode, don't blame me one bit. But let's talk about the last days of Elvis as told through his girlfriend.
Okay.
All right. So Elvis, he continues to perform into his 40s, and he meets former Hee Haw Honey and Miss Tennessee 1972, Linda Thompson, who is doing her level best trying to keep Elvis off the junk that would ultimately result in his passing. It is a struggle, as we will come to find out, because this dream relationship that Elvis and Linda enter into quickly turns into a nightmare. So let's talk about all the people in this movie. First off, we have Linda Thompson, played by a pre-Remington Steele Stephanie Zimbalist.
Yes.
And playing opposite her, Elvis, played by a pre-Miami Vice Don Johnson. Interestingly enough, now, here in the future, we know Don Johnson can sing. He's got an instrument on him.
Now, we covered it in the Heartbeat music video, which we covered as a mini-sode like 4 years ago. 4.5 years. Jeez, it's been a long time since we've covered that.
Yeah, go back to that if you want to relive that. Or if you really want to relive it, you can go to YouTube, look at the Heartbeat video, because my God, that's some cinematic gold.
It has Paul Schaefer in it.
It has Paul Schaefer in it. Now, interestingly enough, he did not sing a note on this show.
What?
Vocals were performed by singer Ronnie McDowell with help from his band, The Glass Hammer.
Oh, that's terrible.
There you go. So then we have other roles in this movie, playing Jeannie LeMay, Miss Rhode Island, and Linda Thompson's best friend, and Dusenberry, who we talked about in previous entry, Life with Lucy.
She was the mother on the show, correct?
Yes, she was married to Lucy's son,
who was played by Larry Anderson, I think.
That's right. Let's try to remember his name. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, because I always think of the baseball player whenever we bring him up, who was traded for Jeff Bagwell.
Elvis's pianist, David Briggs, is played by Rick Lenz, an actor, author, and playwright who concentrated mostly on the stage, although he was in several episodes of The New Adventures of Beans Baxter as Benjamin Baxter Sr.
So he was the father on Beans Baxter.
Yes, he was the father of Beans Baxter. Then we have as Aunt Betty, Ann Wedgeworth, best known as Lana Shields from Three's Company. She plays Aunt Betty, that is the aunt of Linda Thompson. Also receiving credits were Richard Hurd, J.W. McIntosh, and a cameo by Ruta Lee as Susu from every episode of 70s era High Rollers and that one episode of Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue.
I think I saw John Ashton in the credits.
He plays Jake.
Yeah, because we just discussed him a couple months ago in Meet the Deals.
Didn't think that would come up again, did ya?
You didn't think that we'd get a Meet the Deals reference in this episode, but by God, we did.
A lot of people in this episode, a lot of story to tell. We're just going to get right into it as we start out with a pool where we feature Linda Thompson and Jeannie LeMay, both of whom are active in the beauty pageant circuit. In fact, they're headed to Memphis for that year's Miss USA. Linda Thompson is Miss Tennessee. Jeannie LeMay is Miss Rhode Island. While the rest of the contestants are, rehearsing, they're chilling out by the pool, living their best beauty pageant life. But there's something deep going on here. Linda Thompson wants to express her independence, and to that end, moves out of her parents' house. Her parents, Mrs. Thompson and Mr. Thompson. Now, she's not going to be by herself per se. She's moving in with Jeannie and her Aunt Betty. One day on a tour to Graceland, Linda and Jeannie get an offer from Linda's big brother, a sheriff named Bobby, to go to Aero Theater at midnight to meet Elvis showing karate movies.
Oh, karate movies.
Because the king is big into the karate movies. Ha! Hey-o! At the stroke of midnight, in comes the king with a flashlight in hand, and an oft-repeated line in this movie, especially in the beginning, he's a married man. Remember, this is 1972, and he is separated and getting ready to divorce Priscilla Presley. So the fact that he's a married man doesn't stop him from talking to Linda, whose family came up with the king. Linda escapes for air while Elvis gives chase and reveals that he's separated. To which Linda looks at him and says, "You should have married someone local. You shouldn't have married a Yankee." It was love at first sight, or, something like it. That night, Linda can't stop talking about her rendezvous with Elvis. Elvis calls her Aunt Betty. Aunt Betty relays the message. Get ready, because he's coming into your life. They arrive at Graceland, where they meet Elvis's daddy, Vernon Presley, played by John Crawford. Elvis arrives to give Linda and Jeannie the grand tour and a round of peanut butter and banana sandwiches. And after telling Linda his life story, Elvis gets disappointed when he hears that Linda is going on vacation and has absolutely no intention on spending the night with him. It's the next day, and Linda's in her car listening to an Elvis song, an underappreciated Elvis song, It's Only Love. And it's only love for Linda, who says that Elvis was trying to call her on vacation, inviting her to Las Vegas. She arrives in Sin City, and it just gets very, very weird. I mean, she meets Elvis, who just wakes up and complains about dresses and eyeshadow. And it looks kind of sort of like he's still in a trance when he's doing so. Linda is wondering where her room is. Elvis tells her, "This is your room. You're staying with me." She insists on her own room before saying that she trusts him. She swears she's just visiting as he takes the stage to perform a cut-rate Shirley Bassey cover of The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. Now, this is the opening of his big Vegas residency. And if you remember, this was just the legendary Vegas residency of Elvis Presley.
Yeah. Whenever you think of Vegas, you always associate it with Elvis.
Especially later career Elvis. So, cut to the after party. Somebody pitches a movie where Elvis is playing a cowboy, but as soon as the name Elvis is brought up, they want to make him into a singing cowboy. Elvis wishes he did not have to do a movie where he sang all the time. And speaking of unwanted guests, here's Susu. So now that Ruta Lee has officially crashed this party, Linda is assured that things are only going to get worse. Who does the assurance? His own pianist, David Briggs. So that night, after complaining of a headache, Elvis offers Linda some plain old aspirin from a drawer of assorted pills. And then she falls asleep. I don't know if that was aspirin, but that's what I'm told. That was just aspirin. Now, rest assured, Elvis, from what we see, did not take advantage of the situation. In fact, she wakes up in the next day in her clothes from the previous night. She wants to go home. Linda wants to go home, but Elvis says she should stay with him. But if she doesn't want to stay, she doesn't have to. Linda agrees to stay with him. So, now we're back home in Memphis. Linda tells her parents that she's going to live at Graceland with Elvis. Now, you can imagine if her mama didn't want her living on her own, let alone with her best friend and her aunt, imagine how she feels finding out she's going to live with the king of rock and roll. To say that she does not take the news well would be an understatement. So we're at Graceland. Linda plays a tune on the piano that sounds creepy enough to get Elvis's attention. Cue kissing, more kissing, a lot of kissing, and now we're in the bed. And now we're in Hawaii, where Elvis can't sleep without his pills. Linda remembers that Elvis couldn't wake up without his pills. So he goes into this story about how when he was little, he was walking in his sleep and his parents put him on something that stopped that. So now we have the legendary Elvis Hawaii concert. Then we have the luau. Then we get Linda escaping to get some air, and true to form, these parties are getting worse. Piano player David Briggs tries to chat Linda up, shot down. So back home, back in Memphis, Elvis is laying in his bed, but he is unresponsive. Linda calls for an ambulance. Elvis is wheeled to the hospital where Linda stays overnight with him, and he has the most lucid dreams ever involving Elvis choking Linda and calling Linda Mommy. At the same time, mind you, he promises he'll straighten out as soon as he works all the crap out of his system, but we all know how this story ends.
Yeah, it's not going to end well.
Yep, that's right. This story ends with Elvis Presley giving a hunk of burning love to a nurse while she's on the clock.
And by the way, did you notice that she gave Elvis a big ass teddy bear?
Yeah. Linda's like, here's your big honking teddy bear, you freak. Then Elvis and Linda are making out. Getting mixed signals here from Elvis and Linda. So the rest of the time is spent visiting randoms, including someone who's in labor and who's naming her kid after him. Gender be damned. Back home, Linda gets a scare from a guy in a Frankenstein mask. It's not Elvis, it's David. See, it's Halloween, and Linda states that she's getting more treats than tricks from the king. And Elvis arrives to collect his pianist and his girlfriend. So fast forward to Christmas, Elvis wants the parents to come over for carols. Big brother Sam gets an offer to be one of Elvis's security guards. Elvis can't sleep, so he literally bangs out a half-assed Silent Night and absolutely falls apart. So we go into 1977 now. Very important year, 1977. Elvis goes to Palm Springs to do what people in Palm Springs do, while Linda confides in Jeannie, yes, she's still a part of this story, that she's not sure about this situationship. Jeannie brings up cocaine, but Linda says it's not true. He's not on cocaine. He's on prescription meds. I thought he could get better. He can't get better. Especially when his name's in the headlines, and so is yours. Linda grabs a copy of the paper, which features a picture of Elvis with somebody who is not Linda, and goes to David, who treats both Linda and Jeannie, especially Linda. Elvis wants to bring Linda to Vegas again. Linda and Elvis get into it, and Elvis shoves Linda onto the floor, prompting her to throw his pills at him. And I have absolutely no idea how this fight ends up with them in Vegas, but they're both in Vegas now. Elvis is playing with his guns, fully loaded, I should say, and accidentally shoots one toward Linda. Linda comes out, sees Elvis completely hammered, playing with his guns like they're little kid guns. Linda threatens to go home. Elvis gets angry, throws his gun at her. The gun hits the floor and fires one toward the mirror, which is like 2 or 3 inches from Linda. Mirror's broken. She takes one look at the mirror. She takes one look at Elvis, and she says, 7 years bad luck, and I've already had 4 of them. The relationship from this point forward is starting to spiral, prompting Linda to go to Sam about the situation. Sam is still Elvis's personal security guard. She doesn't know what to do, so she goes back upstairs. And Elvis is sitting at his desk, out cold again. Doctor comes in, gives him a shot to bring him around. So he's resting on the bed, but he's still with us. Strike 2. That's strike 2, Elvis. Once Elvis comes to, he asks Linda about David Briggs, which, she's been talking to him a lot about. Elvis gives her an apology gift of a diamond necklace and says he might be too old to change. Now, thinking that this is too much for Linda, Elvis suggests that she go back home as far away from this life as possible. After which, Elvis goes on to perform what would be one of, if not his final show. Linda returns to Memphis alone. Elvis stays in Vegas and pursues another relationship, talking about marriage. Now, taking a call from Sam, she says she'll be okay, and to tell him, I'll always love him. The phone rings again. Linda refuses to answer as she prepares to move out of Graceland. And that's the movie. That's the story. Part of this story was told by Linda Thompson, who served as, and this is absolutely true to the best of my knowledge, a consultant to the movie. Bit of trivia on this film: Don Johnson gained 40 pounds to play Elvis in his later years.
Wow.
Now, Ronnie McDowell did all of Don Johnson's vocal work except for the piano bit, where that was actually Don Johnson and Stephanie Zimbalist singing. And all I can say is this movie was absolutely something else. In fact, I found a People review from 1981. The 1979 Kurt Russell season Hubley telebio Elvis is a hard act to follow. Stephanie Zimbalist is surprisingly persuasive as his paramour, Linda Thompson. Now, and remember, this is 1981, Mrs. Bruce Jenner. But the drama suffers from Thompson's self-serving message, she was creative consultant, that, geez, it's tough living with a millionaire sex symbol. Don Johnson is praiseworthy as the king, but did Elvis really lounge around in tight leather pants and metal-studded capes? And then you fast forward a few years, Miami Vice becomes this big hit, and in 1988 we have a review from the Chicago Tribune. I'm getting this from Wikipedia, by the way, because the Trib offers a paywall. But the review said, and this is Bob Green reviewing, every time Don Johnson delivers a line, you find yourself rolling onto the floor as you howl with laughter. I guess they're trying to separate in 1988 Don Johnson from Detective James Sonny Crockett. Because Elvis is a far cry from Sonny Crockett.
Yes.
If you want to check all of this out yourself, they did release this on DVD. It's available at ElvisPresleyShop.com, the official Elvis Presley fan club. But if you cannot be bothered with physical media, off-broadcast recordings are available on YouTube. In fact, the one I watched came from KNBC 4 Los Angeles.
And it included a 11 o'clock news teaser about, will Larry Brown leave UCLA for the New Jersey Nets? Spoiler, yes.
Greg, you have an interesting story behind this particular entry on the podcast.
Yeah, this was actually a request from a good friend of mine, Robert Silva, who listened to the podcast. I did a series of In the Place to Be Nation greatest WWE top 100 polls a couple of years ago. I did a series of shows with him on the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed. I might actually include those on this Podbean feed. The reason I say that is because he passed away last year. And when I found out the news about his passing, I figured, you know what? He requested we do this. I figured it'd be appropriate to do it in honor of his memory. And also, this is around the time of the anniversary of Elvis' death, too. So, Robert, wherever you are, I hope you enjoyed this.
So that is the story of the other relationship that Elvis had close to his death. A relationship between the king and the beauty queen. It must have made for quite a compelling story in real life. In 1981, NBC and David Gerber thought it only fitting to turn it into a thing on TV. One that both Don Johnson and Stephanie Zimbalist would probably love to forget.
You can find us at our website, itwasathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV Podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to be up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time. Well, way back at the beginning of this podcast, we covered season 1 of this show. And I think about 3.5 years ago, we did season 2. Well, now we're going to cover season 3 of this show. And how do you make faux reality show even more crazy?
Add bounty hunters? I don't know.
Yeah, and you can add some dummies into the mix, too.
And Lorenzo Lamas? Lorenzo Lamas is always good for a laugh.
Oh, yeah. Everyone had a hoot and holler whenever they watched Falcon Crest. Hey, you can watch all 9 seasons of Falcon Crest on the Primetime Subs channel on Plex. It's either that, Knots Landing, or Sisters.
See, I was going to watch Falcon Crest, but now that you brought up Sisters...
Oh, my mom loved the hell out of Sisters back in the day.
Oh, man. Me and D'Angelo, we would watch the hell out of Sisters during the summer. Good times. But yeah, all of that is coming on the next installment of It Was a Thing on TV. For Greg, I'm Chico. Aaron's going to be in my seat next week, hopefully. But until then, please be kind to each other, and we will see you for the next one.
Wow!
We have some GGs on it. King.